thumb in politics, because I don't even know if it's true, that good weather always helps Democrats, bad weather helps Republicans because their supporters tend to be more rabid and will come out come hell or high water. I don't know if that's true, but I certainly know these next guests know the real matters that matter. Townhall.com's Elisabeth Meinecke and Republican strategist Sherry Jacobus. All right, Elizabeth, to you first. It's good weather news throughout the country before this next nor'easter hits to batter the east coast of the country. We still have, a couple of million folks without power on the east coast of the country, so there's that separate issue there. But how do you think this is going to fall out tomorrow with the vote, if by and large, power notwithstanding, weather's good across much of the country?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to have too much of an effect. I did speak to one of my really close friends who has a lot of family and friends in New Jersey. And I mean, for those people who are without power but still have their houses, they seem to be ready to go out and vote as well. For them, it's just logistics. Finding the election places that are open. For example, the place that my friend's family would normally use doesn't have power either. But they do seem to be committed to voting, although it's probably not the highest thing on their priority list right now.
Sherry, who's more jazzed to go out and vote? That's ultimately what smart folks like you tell me. You have to watch on election.
Well, this year it would appear that it's Republicans. I have to give Republicans the edge. We see that in the early voting where Barack Obama's numbers are substantially down from where they were in 2008, and Mitt Romney's numbers are somewhat higher, substantially higher, in fact, than they were for John McCain. So that's very key. You also see it in these tens of thousands of people showing up at the Romney rallies, more along the lines of what we saw in 2008 for Barack Obama. So I think that it's going to be harder to keep the Republican voters at home. But overall, I'd say, people are fairly enthusiastic all the way around.
Yeah, but always judging crowds is riskier. I mean, I covered for a while the Dukakis campaign in '88. I guess I gave away my age there. But I remember his last few days of rallies were huge. I mean, crowds are everywhere. And obviously, his was not a razor-tight election, but
you can feel it.
No,
you can feel it out there.
I believe, Sherry, I was going to finish. I thought you're right. There's something palpable about the enthusiasm for Romney. It might be based on more antipathy for the president, but be that as it may, do you look at this, Elizabeth, and say that is something that's not popping up in the polls? The passion of, let's say, the Romney base, that to hear Governor McDonnell of Virginia tell it, is not popping up in these surveys.
I think there's definitely the potential for that, and I'm going to quote my mother here. I think she had a great line. She said, Mitt Romney might not have been my first choice, but he is my last hope. So I think when all else fails, that's kind of a good motivator to look at and see where people's temperature are kind of when it comes to voting tomorrow. And I do agree. I was speaking with one of my coworkers earlier, Erica Johnson over at Hot Air, and she does think that there's something that the polls might be missing, and that if Mitt Romney comes out and wins tomorrow, that it might really redo how we look at polling in America, because polling is not picking up on some of those enthusiasm numbers.
Sherry, there is another fact with the storm I just want to end on with you, and that is it might not affect the presidential race because a lot of the states affected by the storm, New Jersey, New York, are pretty safe blue states. But it could affect some of these senatorial races. There are a lot of people who might take out their angst on Senator Gillibrand running for election. Maybe not to top the election or for her opponent, but a lot of close congressional races could be decided on anger at the incumbent, whoever he or she is.
Well, I think it has to do with who you supported going in. If you had hardcore support for a person, you're probably not going to change over this. If you were on the fence and you think that your elected officials are not doing a very good job, if you're one of the people affected and you've run out of water, well, it's FEMA that ran out of water actually, and we know that there's generators sitting in Central Park. You just might want to take it out on somebody, but that somebody could also be Barack Obama. He's the incumbent president. He blew in for a photo op and an ice cream cone, and then after that left. And a lot of people, as Fox News and others have been reporting, are really, really hurting right now with the cold weather coming in. These are dire circumstances. So yeah, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if voters took it out across the board on their elected officials.
Well, we'll watch. It could be one of those swing issues. Ladies, thank you.
Thank
both
you.
very, very much.